Tyson announced today that he'll go 10 rounds with Henry Tillman on June 16th for $2 million.
Is that you in the ring when you see
I
it?
don't even know that guy. I don't know. That guy borrowed my belt and my body and went in the ring. I do not know who that guy is.
Henry Tillman is a name that does not ring a bell for casual boxing fans, while Mike Tyson is one of the most well-known figures in the sport. Tillman was born in Los Angeles in 1960, growing up in tough neighborhood South Central and using boxing as an escape. He quickly became the standout American heavyweight in amateur boxing in the early 1980s. Aged 23, he was given the chance to represent his country at a home Olympic Games. Standing in his way was a young amateur boxer from Brooklyn called Mike Tyson, who had already won gold at the Junior Olympics in 1981 and 1982. The pair came up against each other at the U.S. Olympic trials in 1984, with Tillman winning. Tyson had another chance to qualify for Los Angeles 1984, this time in a box-off at the glamorous Caesars Palace in Las Vegas. Tillman was the opponent yet again, and Tyson lost for a second time. His Olympic dreams were crushed, and the young boxer could barely contain his frustration. He quickly left the ring and walked out of the venue, pummeling a tree outside. When they announced the decision, "I couldn't believe they gave it to Tillman," Tyson later said. "The whole amateur boxing establishment hated me. They didn't like my cocky Brownsville attitude. I was behaving myself, but you could still see that New York swagger coming out." In the end, Tillman went on to win gold at the Los Angeles Olympic Games. He defeated Canada's Willie DeWitt by unanimous decision in the heavyweight final, securing one of the most prestigious titles in amateur boxing. But the story didn't end here. They fought again for third time in professional match. Coming off of those two losses to Tillman, Mike wasn't exactly the hottest property in the boxing world. Cus had planned for him to win the gold medal at the Olympics and then start his career with a lucrative TV contract. But that didn't work out. No professional promoters were interested in him. Nobody in boxing really believed in Cus's peekaboo style, and a lot of people thought that he was too short to be an effective heavyweight. Mike Tyson wrote in his book that, I guess all that talk got to Cus. One night, Mike was taking the garbage out and Cus was cleaning up the kitchen. "Man, I wish you had a body like Mike Weaver or Ken Norton," he said out of the blue, "because then you would be real intimidating. You'd have an ominous aura. They don't have the temperament, but they have the physique of an intimidating man. You could paralyze the other boxers with fear just by the way you look." Mike got choked up. To this day, when Mike recounts this story, he still choke up. He was offended and hurt, but he wouldn't tell Cus that because then he'd say, "Oh, you're crying? What are you, a little baby? How can you handle a big-time fight if you don't have the emotional toughness?" Anytime Mike showed his emotions, he despised it, so he held back my tears. "Don't worry, Cus. I made myself sound arrogant. You watch. One day, the whole world is going to be afraid of me. When they mention my name, they'll sweat blood, Cus," Mike said. That was the day when he turned into Iron Mike. He became that guy 100%. Even though he had been winning almost every one of his fights in an exciting fashion, he wasn't completely emotionally invested in being the savage that Cus wanted him to be. After that talk about me being too small, he became that savage. He even began to fantasize that if he actually killed someone inside the ring like Sugar Ray Robinson did, it would certainly intimidate everyone. Cus wanted an antisocial champion, so he drew on the bad guys from the movies, guys like Jack Palance and Richard Widmark. Cus immersed him in the role of the arrogant sociopath, and after some years, both men turned professional. Although the transition from amateur to professional boxing is notoriously challenging, Tillman showed early promise as he racked up a series of victories. But despite his encouraging start, Tillman's professional career soon began to falter. His first significant setback came in 1987 when he faced Bert Cooper, a hard-hitting heavyweight contender. Tillman was knocked out in the 8th round, a loss that marked the beginning of a downward spiral in his career. His struggles continued as he faced more defeats against prominent fighters. One of the most notable losses came against Evander Holyfield in 1988. Holyfield, who would later become a heavyweight champion, defeated Tillman in a 7th-round knockout. In 1990 came an encounter that Tyson had likely been looking forward to for several years. He came up against Tillman for a 3rd time, this time in the professional ring. It was never personal between him and Tillman. Tyson traveled with the Olympic team in 1984 to earn experience, and it was Tyrell Biggs he really hated. Not that this meant Iron Mike would show Tillman any mercy in the ring. Tyson had become a global superstar and heavyweight champion by then, but had recently lost his title to Buster Douglas in a massive upset. He was on a comeback trail, and the fight was heavily publicized due to the pair's amateur history. But it ended swiftly, with Tyson's connecting with Tillman's temple and winning via a first-round knockout. This bout effectively highlighted the stark contrast between their professional careers and cemented Tyson's dominance over his former amateur rival. Following the loss to Tyson, Tillman's career never recovered. He continued to fight sporadically but without much success. His final professional record stood at 25 wins, 6 losses, and 1 draw, a far cry from the expectations set by his amateur achievements. Tillman retired from professional boxing in the mid-1990s, leaving behind a career that had promised much but delivered little in terms of lasting success. He became involved in coaching and mentoring young boxers, using his experiences to guide and inspire the next generation. Despite this, Tillman can still boast that he beat Tyson twice and even went on to win an Olympic gold medal. I hope you find this video informative.